I know a lot of people who are like really believe that CIA has like a lot of power that I don't actually believe the CIA has. I fully believe, because we got plenty of declassified documents and stuff to demonstrate the CIA has spent a lot of time over a lot of years trying to manipulate different countries' governments, elections, tried to foment coups and overthrow people. And that's all true. What I don't believe, and what people I would call actually legitimately conspiracy theorists, where I think they go wrong a lot of times, is assuming competence and success on the part of the CIA that I don't think the CIA's track record actually demonstrates. Because, for example, like people talk about Cuba all the time and how much, and of course, like the Castro regime has used the CIA as a scapegoat for years and years and years. But I would like to point out that the Castro regime is still in power in Cuba. And they've been in power in Cuba for 60 years, and it's not changed at all. And so, like, whatever the CIA has attempted to do, or whatever they've tried to do as far as, like, sparking revolutions and overthrows and coups and blah, 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 it hasn't worked. And the same thing was true in Venezuela, where, you know, Hugo Chavez used to say that he was this horrible target of the CIA and blah, blah, blah. But you know what? Hugo Chavez was in power for, 10 years before Maduro took over. We're into like somewhere in the neighborhood of 20 years of the same basic regime. It's not changed at all. And prior to that, the regimes were pretty bad too. Like there just weren't really any version of this. And of course, you know, we're also not factoring in that there are other countries in the world, Russia, China, etc., that have their own versions of the CIA trying to manipulate people's elections and prop up their preferred, presidents and dictators and whatnot. So I don't know. One of the things I like about this movie is just that, like, the CIA is like a bunch of bumbling idiots. And I kind of feel like that's true in reality. Way more than most people would like to believe, like pro and anti-CIA people. I think both of them over-assume our CIA's competence. And
well, that's what makes good comedy, is that everything has a little kernel of truth to it, even though it might be outlandish. And I mean, yelling Nicolas Cage movies back and forth over a secure, quote unquote, secure line. But I mean, the emotional manipulation, I mean, it happens all the time, not just CIA, but just our police here in America.
Yep.
I mean, I think one of the most famous recent examples, and this happens all the time, was Breonna Taylor's boyfriend was pressured with all kinds of stuff to testify certain ways or admit different things. And so it's not like this is just made up out of thin air. But that's what makes this movie, I think, so good.